Hello, and welcome to my channel. This is Inspired by Christ, where we talk about everything Jesus, God, salvation, and whatever He inspires me to talk about. Today, we're continuing in our Nehemiah series, where so basically, I kind of got this idea. I was inspired to go to Nehemiah, and as I was reading it, his process of rebuilding the wall reminded me of what building a relationship with God should look like. And yesterday's chapter, we actually, so chapters 1 through 4, yeah, chapters 1 through 4 to me seem to be more about paralleling that building process, like laying down the foundation work and building brick by brick and stone by stone. But yesterday's chapter, it was more of when we build that relationship and when we're truly walking in kingdom, then we see God's hand moving in the earth, where we can have the courage to speak out against corrupt leaders, where we can expect for the things that were taken from us to be fully restored, and just things like that. So today we're on chapter 6, and we're just going to read through it and see what we learn. Now it came to pass when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem the Arabian and the rest of our enemies heard that I had builded the wall, and that there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent unto me, saying, Come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me mischief. And I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease, whilst I leave it, and come down to you? Yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner. Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in like manner the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand, wherein was written, It is reported among the heathen, and Gashmu saith it, that thou and the Jews think to rebel, for which cause thou buildest the wall, that thou mayest be their king, according to these words. And thou hast also appointed prophets to preach of thee at Jerusalem, saying, There is a king in Judah, and now shall it be reported to the king according to these words. Come now, therefore, and let us take counsel together. Then I sent unto him, saying, There are no such things done as thou sayest, but thou feignest them out of thine own heart. For they all made us afraid, saying, Their hand shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterward I came unto the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mehetabeel, who was shut up. And he said, Let us meet together in the house of God within the temple, and let us shut the doors of the temple, for they will come to slay thee. Yea, in the night will they come to slay thee. And I said, Should such a man as I flee? And who is there that, being as I am, would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. And lo, I perceived that God had not sent him, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me, for Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. Therefore was he hired, that I should be afraid, and do so, and sin, and that they might have matter for an evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, think thou upon Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and on the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets that would have put me in fear. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in 52 days. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. Moreover, in those days the nobles of Judah sent many letters unto Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came unto them. For there were many in Judah sworn unto him, because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Arah, and his son Johanan had taken the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. Also they reported his good deeds before me, and uttered my words to him. And Tobiah sent letters to put me in fear. So basically what I got from this, especially because I see that they built the wall to the point where there are no more open doors. No more holes or breaches for the enemies to attack. And when there's no breach left, the enemies here, they try to distract him. So even though the wall is finished, except for the doors, that's what it said. Though at the time I had not set up the doors upon the gates, except for doors at the gates, the wall is finished at this point. But even though it's finished, these men are still trying to kill Nehemiah. And they're coming up with lies. They have a letter to the king that the reason they're building the wall is so that Nehemiah can be king over the Jews, and so that they can attack their enemies. But these people are just trying to mind their own business. And their enemies are out here forging letters. And they did it persistently, because he said, they sent unto me 4 times. Then sent Sanballat 5th time. This is the treasonous letter. There are no such things done as thou sayest. For they all made us afraid, saying. So in verse 9, Nehemiah is acknowledging that their attempts are making the people afraid. And as he notices it, see what he says, for they all made us afraid, saying, their hand shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. So he knows the enemy is thinking, oh, these people are tired. They're going to let their guard down because they've been putting in so much work. And now Nehemiah is saying, nah, they saying this against us. Lord, strengthen us. So he's not coming into agreement like, oh, yes, I understand that people are fearful and this, that, and the other. He's saying, oh, if this is our weakness, Lord, strengthen us in this area. So there's that. Nehemiah has such a good relationship with God. Like, the amount of times that he's gone to God for counsel, that he's just kind of known at the forefront of everything, he has the fear of God. And at the forefront of everything, he has the fear of God. And so I'll say my take on this is, if we don't know the strategy in the moment that we need to do, then it's just a matter of sending a prayer up to God. And I say in the moment because oftentimes, if we're led to a place in the Word, or if someone is giving us godly counsel and that's confirmation for something that we're going through, we can receive the Word of God and we can receive strategy through those means. But sometimes strategy may only come directly speaking to God in that moment or in that situation. And I'll say this: it can be easy to think that if we read the Word and we're like, oh, they did this in this situation, so that's all I have to do. And then maybe there's another situation that's more applicable in the Word, if that makes sense. So I don't know how to describe it. Like, what we read in the Word is always helpful. Always, always, always. But I suppose what I'm trying to get at is we should also have the discernment to know that we should also have the discernment to know that have the discernment to know if God is telling us to do one thing or to do something else. Yes. Afterward, I came into the house. Oh, also have discernment with who's around you. Because he went to somebody's house and he said, let us meet together in the house of God within the temple. Shut the doors of the temple, for they will come to slay thee. Yea, in the night they will come to slay thee. So somebody could be suggesting something. Again, this goes back to that discernment. Somebody could be making a suggestion, and it may sound good because here this man is like, yeah, let's go to the house of God. That's where protection is. But Nehemiah was basically like, nah, you wasn't sent from God. You just trying to put fear in me. So we have to be careful of those that are around us. Because he was hired by the enemies to try to strike fear in him. So what Nehemiah said, I perceived that God had not sent him, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me. Therefore was he hired, that I should be afraid and do so and sin, and that they might have matter for an evil report, that they might reproach me. Oops. So if we have any kind of sin, and when I say if we have any kind of sin, what I mean is if we have not repented for something and acknowledged that we did wrong in an area, because we are sinners. We're going to constantly war against sin. And we have to, it's a constant battle to pick up our cross daily and walk in the Spirit the way Jesus Christ walked as we kill our flesh. That struggle will always be there so long as we have a fleshly body. But it's when we're unrepentant that the enemy has, how do you describe it? Has matter for an evil report. So basically, that's when the enemy can come in and accuse you, like, hey, they have unforgiveness in their heart. Or, hey, they ignored your oppressed and the poor and the widow. So when the enemy, or hey, they watched porn 2 weeks ago and they didn't repent for it. So when the enemy has something that he can accuse us of, the enemy is trying to dig and create occasions so that he can accuse us. And this isn't just in the physical, like in the natural, this is also in the spiritual. We're talking about big enemy, spiritual enemy, Lucifer, the devil, Satan, that guy. He's always looking for some kind of way to create an evil report against us. But also, be careful just outright listening to prophets and prophetesses and what they have to say, because he said, my God, think thou upon Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and on the prophetess Noadiah and the rest of the prophets that would have put me in fear. So we have prophetess Noadiah and the rest of these prophets that have been trying to speak to Nehemiah from a position of fear. People may be appointed for a particular position. Prophet, prophetess, pastor, apostle, whatever the case may be. But if their intent, and it may be intentionally, it may be unintentionally, but if their intent is to put you in fear, or if the result of their words puts you in fear rather than edifies or encourages or gives you godly warning, an actual warning from God, we are not required to receive or accept what they prophesy over our lives. And they don't even have to have a title, really. I think all of us can prophesy. They said even Saul prophesied at some point. Anybody can prophesy. But there are certain people that are actually appointed to be prophets and prophetesses. The wall was finished in the 25th day in 52 days. So they finished on the 25th day of the month, but the work altogether took 52 days, which leads me to your assignment probably won't be an instant bam, 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 done. It's gonna take some time. It's a full-blown assignment. And when their enemies heard of them finishing the work, he says they perceived that this work was because of our God. It was wrought of our God. So once the assignment's complete, God's going to get the glory out of it. Moreover, in those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters unto Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came unto them. Um, it looks like Tobiah, one of the enemies, was still in constant communication with the nobles. Um, Many were loyal to him because he was somebody's son-in-law. I guess this is an important person. And his son had married the daughter, I guess, of one of the Jewish people, the daughter of Meshullam. Also, they reported his good deeds before me and uttered my words to him. So now, oh, look at this. So now we also have people acting like monitoring spirits. Remember in the last chapter, Nehemiah rebuked the nobles and the rulers because he was like, hey, y'all are stealing from God's people. Y'all can require a little bit of money and corn, but y'all are taking all these people's inheritance and what they own. And so they were rebuked in the last chapter. So they're probably not too fond of Nehemiah, which is probably, in addition to being loyal to this Tobiah guy, they probably just don't like Nehemiah already. So Nehemiah really has it coming at him from all sides. And so Nehemiah's words are being reported to Tobiah. And Tobiah is responding to try to put him in fear. And the nobles are that middle connector, making it happen. Y'all, we really got to have discernment in these times. We don't know who's being used by the enemy to try to put us into sin while we're trying to finish our assignments. But keep our eyes stayed on God and pray. I mentioned this in one of the videos, but Nehemiah is strong on speaking out the words of God and speaking out his prayers versus like just thinking them within his heart. Like he speaks out a lot. Oh, they're saying that we won't have the strength and that we'll let our guard down. Lord, please strengthen us. And he's saying it out loud, not just like thinking it. And I just noticed that's a huge, going to God out loud is a huge part of this book so far. And I'm sure it'll continue until the end, because that's how Nehemiah's discernment was increased, I'm sure. When you're in constant communication with God, we know who is of him and who is not. And we can recognize the attempts. It's not necessarily saying that these people are evil for trying to put him in fear, but people tend to act in their own way so that they take over the situation in their own hands. And oftentimes it is due to fear, or it's because they want some kind of control, or whatever the case may be. But we really have to strengthen our discernment and operate from that place of discernment. And I think at this point, like, I'm not getting anything else. So if I just continue talking, it'll end up being me rambling about the same things over and over. So I think that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I forgot to say, I was reading from the KJV today, my little paper Bible. And if you have not, um, if you have not watched the other videos, I think you should go back and watch them. This is a series, and each chapter builds on the last. And yeah, I can link that somewhere. But I'll talk to you later. Bye.